Project codes. Project codes are assigned to projects and enable projects to be grouped and sorted under an alternative structure to the EPS. So you can create project codes, for example, for the client or the location or the type of project or the risk, and you can either group and sort or filter by the project code. To create a project code, if you're in the professional client, you would use enterprise project codes, and that opens up the project codes form where you can create project codes, and I'll show you that in a minute. If you're in the web client, you can select Administer Enterprise Data Project Codes, and this is where you'll create codes for people who are using the optional client. So let's go to the professional and see how we create project codes. If you want to learn how to use the web client, I have a book on Primavera P6 Web, and this goes through the details of how to use the web client. So to create project codes, you create them in a similar way to creating activity codes by selecting Enterprise Project Codes. This opens up the project code form. So here are the existing codes that have been created. So again, if under business process, this is a listing of all the business processes, or business segment, that's a listing of the business segments. To create a new code, I go to modify. If I want to create one called client, I can add a new one, and then I would type in the description. So I've got client name, and if I want to move that up the top, I can use the arrows here to reorder the project codes. I can decide how many characters I want in the code, because you have a code and a code description. So if I want to use 4 characters, I've now created the dictionary where I can add the codes. So I close this, and now if I click on the client name here, I can now add, if I want, new codes for each of the clients. So if I want to, I can create hierarchical codes in the same way that you would do in activity codes or resource codes. So at this point in time, I've created John Holland Group, and I've created a lower level code for their different branches in different states. I've created one for BHP and Western Mining. And now I close, and now I can assign those codes. Filtering, grouping and sorting projects in the projects window. Projects are grouped and sorted and filtered in the projects window in the same way as activities are in the activities window. So layouts, filters, columns and bar formatting work in the same way in both windows. Let's go to P6 and have a look at this. There are a number of ways of assigning the codes. I can go to columns, I can customize, and I can assign the codes from the codes form here where it's project codes. I can bring the client name across, and I can assign the client name from the columns here. So if I want to, I can go here and I can select BHP Billiton if I wanted to. So this allows me to assign the codes here. Also, if I show the details form here and right click and customize, you'll see here that I can bring the codes field in, and I can assign codes here if I want to. So again, I can assign, and I can find the necessary project code here if I want to, and assign the project codes. At that point in time, if I wanted to, I could go group and sort and customize, and I can sort by the customer, or I could create a filter and I can customize, and I can create a filter if I wanted to show particular projects. So you would use project codes against projects in the same way as you use activity codes against activities. You can filter and group and sort on them. Project durations in the project window. Project durations in both the projects window and the activities window are normally calculated on the project default calendar, whereas the EPS node durations are normally calculated on the database calendar. So these are normally calculated on the project calendar, and these are normally calculated on the enterprise default calendar. The project duration is calculated based on the project default calendar, and the only exception is when all the activities against a project have a different calendar. Then this duration is calculated on that other calendar, and it would ignore the project default calendar. If I change the project default calendar, say to a 7x24, this duration is calculated on a 7-day week from the start to the finish using the 7x24. Whereas if I go back to the 5-day week trades, Now the duration has changed because now the duration is being calculated on this calendar. This duration here is being calculated based on the enterprise global default calendar. So this is 1112 days. If I change the enterprise global calendar to something different, then these are calculated based on this calendar. So the durations of the EPS nodes are calculated based on the global calendar when all the projects here have a different calendar. But if all the projects here had the same calendar, then this duration would be based on the common calendar over all the projects. So if I go to the bid for facility extension and change this calendar here to 7/24, you will see that the EPS nodes are now using this calendar because this calendar is the only one against a project here. So you find that the projects use a similar hierarchy to the activities in terms of how they calculate their summary duration. So if the calendars against all these projects, if they're all different, then it uses the global enterprise calendar. If these are all the same, then it uses whatever calendar is assigned to all the projects.